it's game on next time I see him, right? That's how New Year's resolutions work, right? I'm gonna lose weight, and I go eat a cheeseburger. I'm like, well, that's done. So
it's over now. Try again next year.
January 4th. It doesn't matter. We'll try next January.
Hello and welcome to episode number 91 of the Hobbies and Happiness podcast, where we talk about the hobby that makes us happy, tabletop gaming. I'm one of your hosts, Dan.
And I'm Jim. Today, we're talking with co-owner of Realm Games, Jacob Bartram.
All right, so today, like Jim said, we were talking with Jacob Bartram. Did you remember before we got into that episode that this was the Jacob Bartram that Matt mistook for Jacob Bartram?
No, I didn't.
But as we were talking, at the time when Matt mentioned that, I didn't really know who Jacob was, but then we were fortunate enough able to meet Jacob at a local Flesh and Blood tournament and got to talking, and then it clicked in my head. I'm like, oh wait, you're the guy that Matt mistook for Jacob. So all right, well, before we get into it, we need to talk about our sponsor, Amazon Audible. If you head over to our affiliate link, www.audibletrial.com/hobbies and happiness, you can sign up for your free 30-day trial of Amazon's Audible service. When you sign up for that free 30-day trial, you get a free book added to your account. If you're an Amazon Prime member, you get 2 free books added to your account. You can use those credits. You don't get books, you get credits, and then exchange those credits for books. If you go on there onto the service, you can pick which books you want to get added to your account, and those you get to keep those books for forever, for as long as you have that account, essentially. And even if you cancel that subscription before the end of the 30 days, you still get to keep those books on your account. So if that's something that you'd be interested in, head over to our affiliate link, www.audibletrial.com/hobbies and happiness. Sign up for your free 30-day trial today. All right. This so today, like we mentioned, we are back to an interview. We are interviewing Jacob Bartram. So Jacob is the co-owner of the Realm Games. So we were fortunate enough to meet Jacob. Again, like I said, I feel like I'm saying things twice.
Yes.
Anyway, at a local Flesh and Blood tournament hosted by Min-Max Games, and we got to have a nice little chat.
Yeah, it was great talking with him
there. And it was kind of impromptu, but it was really great to make that connection and then find out kind of what he's doing, him and his brother are doing with the Realm Games, and honestly, really the communities that they are looking to form. And, when we finished this podcast, this episode, we still talked for it had to be another hour.
We do it all the time.
We do. But it's awesome. It was really great to sit down with somebody who's literally doing the thing that we want to do.
Yeah.
So he had a lot of really good tips, tricks, advice, and kind of just really good advice for us in the long run and what we hope to take into our eventual store. So sit tight, strap in, and hopefully you guys enjoy this conversation with Jacob Bartram. All right, today on the podcast, we are joined by Mr. Jacob Bartram. Jacob is the co-owner of the Realm Games. Jacob, how you doing today, man?
I'm doing good. How are you guys?
It's another day. It's another day. Jim just woke up not that long ago, right, Jim?
I passed out right after work. Got home about at 1 o'clock, 1 p.m.
Don't you love that schedule, Jim?
Actually, yeah. I do, actually.
So all right. So today we're talking to Jacob, and so we met Jacob a few weeks ago. I honestly can't remember how many weeks ago the Chicago Brawl was for Min-Max Games here, and everybody said it was in Chicago, guys. It wasn't in Chicago. Just so you know, it wasn't in Chicago, just outside Chicago.
All right, that's only for people who live near Chicago, okay? That's like you go out of state and you're like, oh, yeah, I live in Chicago. Even though you don't, you still say it.
I know.
That definitely could be our fault. We marketed everything in Chicago, and then I got there, and I'm like, oh, I've never been to Chicago. And people are like, this isn't Chicago. I'm like, whoa, my bad. My bad.
Calm down, dude. It's just funny, but again, if you would have said Downers Grove, people would have been like, where? I have no idea where that is. Nobody knows where that's at.
Chicago works.
Exactly. You say Chicago, and Chicago encompasses a lot of places in the area, so it's fine. It's fine. So anyway, that's where Jacob we met Jacob, and we had quite a few good chats at that tournament. And Jacob, it was really nice, kind of just chatting with you, learning about the Realm games. And so I know this
is actually kind of perfect since we're talking about that tournament.
Okay.
Did you remember the idiot that fell asleep in the chair at the tournament?
No,
it was like for 3 hours.
Like they're in the middle.
So it was on the side where
the draft room was, where they were drafting.
Oh yeah, no, I had no idea someone did that.
Yeah, apparently it was an amazing spot to pass out, and yeah, that was me. So
was he? You know what? I do remember, like,
you mentioned it.
After I talked to you guys like the first time for like 2-3 minutes, I remember like later walking by, I was like, "Oh, dude, this dude's gone," but I never thought about it again. I was like, "That's not that great of a spot. There's a lot of people walking through here."
I don't know, dude. It was real comfy. There would be times where I'm like passed out. I wake up. I'm like, oh, all right, cool. I don't need to be.
I don't need to get up and leave.
I don't need to be anywhere. Back to bed.
Oh shoot. Oh man.
So it's funny because that night we went out to that speakeasy get together.
Yeah.
Good.
Which was a lot of fun. But when we're there, multiple people were like, oh you were the guy who was passed out?
Hey, man, it doesn't matter how they know you.
Yeah, right.
It just matters that they know you.
It gets you in the door. It gets those conversations started.
You just need a funny story.
Oh, my goodness.
And I got it.
Oh, dude.
Shoot, that's hilarious.
I can't remember who we were talking to, but somebody was like, dude, you were passed the F out forever.
Yeah.
You're like, what can I say, man? I was tired. But so just to give a little bit of context, okay, for those of you who were at that tournament, okay, number one, we don't even play Flesh and Blood.
I don't even play it.
We don't play Flesh and Blood, but we went just to have a good time and hang out with everybody.
Yeah,
and we did. We had an amazing time.
Mm-hmm.
But you came straight from work.
Yeah, I came straight from work, and I was already running on close to 24 hours at that point.
Yep.
And I was just like, man, that couch looks comfy.
Yeah, you said that, then I'm like, dude, just go take a nap, man. Go take a nap. Don't worry about it. If something comes up, I'll get you up and then I'll let you know what's going on.
And then I got up at the end of the tournament, and then it was time to go party. I'm like, all right, let's
go.
Let's go. That's great. This is a great weekend.
It was, because then when you left, you had to go straight back to work, right?
Yeah, I went straight to work right after. Yeah. Yeah.
That's how you know it was a good party.
So, you know, I'd say that you're the first person to do that at one of our events, but you're definitely not. But
surprised.
In Columbus last year, we did like our first like speakeasy ticket that anyone could come to, right? It was super cool. We made like a red carpet and place for people to take pictures. It was a blast. Well, there was like, you know, it's just like the other speakeasies. There's a bar where people could go buy drinks and do their own thing, blah, blah, and we drafted and did a bunch of cool stuff. Well, some people decided to leave there and go, I don't know where they went, out into the world of Columbus. And
They went out.
They showed up the next morning and they were still gone. It was bad. So I had people laying in the stream room behind the casters, giving them water, and like they were out cold. It was great. It was a weekend. It was bad.
That dude knows how to party.
Yeah. But what's great is like there's an area designated for you guys. Yeah, there's couches back there. We got water. Yeah. We got everything you guys need.
Pittsburgh, I'm just going to add to the checklist, you know, feature table, casting area, play area, nap room.
Yep.
Just in case.
Yeah. All right. Before we get into talking all about the Realm, okay, the Realm games and just tabletop gaming, Jim has a question that he likes to ask because we know you do have some experience with Magic the Gathering.
Oh boy,
so
it's rough.
That being said, Jim, yes, Jim, fire away.
Yeah. So normally I say this kind of determines the rest of the conversation.
Oh,
but we already set that up in the last conversation, or the last little question. So I was wanting to know your favorite color to play and/or color combination.
So my favorite to play or what I played the most of. Those are two different things.
Whatever you want to say.
Yeah. So something that I love playing, but I'm absolutely awful at it is like blue-white control. But I'm so bad at it, I shouldn't even be allowed to do it. Like, but it's just so fascinating. So I'm like, sure, we'll try. But like when I played like seriously there for a while, it was like usually just like mono black. I did that for a couple of years. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
All
right.
Awesome.
That's still a good color combination.
I like Esper.
Yeah. Esper is a fantastic color combination. All right. So with the main one of the main questions out of the way,
biggest question out of the
way. We want to talk all about the Realm games. All right. So when we first talked to you, okay, you were telling us a little bit about the story of the Realm games and then how you and your brother came to own the Realm games. So I was wondering if you could just kind of like give a brief backstory of kind of where you guys are at now and how you kind of got to owning the Realm games.
Yeah. So the Realm was owned by a gentleman named James. He owned it for 15, maybe 16 years. I can't quite remember, but really good friend of ours. He came to a point where he was just ready to retire and approached my brother. We own a couple other businesses and he just kind of reached out to us and conversation started and we took over from there. So that was September of 2021. And at the time, the store was on the little rougher side. Some of it needed updated really bad, and there's a lot of stuff happening. It's a unique space. It's really cool. It has the main store where you can buy everything, and then we have the building right next to it. You have to walk outside and walk into another building, but it's like 2,000, 2,500 square feet of just wide open play area where all the tables are and people come play. We have rooms set up. People play D&D. We have Warhammer happening, Pokemon, Magic, Flesh and Blood. Like it's cool. Like this last Sunday we had, I think there was like 20 or 25 people there playing pre-release for Magic. We had like 30 people there for Pokemon. We had like 5 tables of just Commander going. The D&D was happening in another room. So like it's become a really cool space where like doesn't matter what you play, like there's someone there that's like, sure, like we'll just sit down and play. So but that's how we ended up buying it. Went on together and we are competitive people by nature. I don't know if our whole family's that way. I mean, that's why we own our own businesses. I'm not really sure, but so we decided that we wanted to start running tournaments and saw a need in the Flesh and Blood community, and we're really involved in that community, and that's kind of how we got on to doing our own circuit this year. So it's just kind of snowballed from there. We've had great support from the community, and we do other events too, like decent sized events. Like we run RCQs. We usually do like 1, 2, maybe even 5K RCQ. We ran a couple 1, 2K. I think it's the biggest we went for Pokemon. So we do other stuff too, but most of that's just at the store. Yeah.
So all right. So timeline, you guys purchased the store September of 2021, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So when you guys purchased it, was there like, what was the reason you guys did that? Like, did you have a big want to be owners of an LGS, of a game store, or was it just something that kind of fell into your lap and was a good opportunity, you decided to pursue it, or was it somewhere along the lines of, this is something we've always wanted to do and we have a big drive for this community, and that was kind of a reason? Just wonder if you could kind of touch on that for a little bit.
Yeah, honestly, it's probably going to be everything you just said. We had previously talked about before. We're involved in the community. We played there. So there was a want, there was a desire. There was also, some ambition to take the store and do some really cool stuff. I think James had some really unique stuff going there. And then it also kind of fell in our lap where, he was, we had previously talked about it like 5 years prior, and we just weren't in a space where, in a place to do what we thought we could do with the store. Like, we felt like if we were going to do it, we needed to be in a place where we could do the things that we wanted to do, take it to a new height. So we kind of passed then, and it just kind of ended up working out where when it came back around, we were ready. We both were in a good place to be able to do what we felt was necessary for the store. And yeah, so it's a little bit of both. It's definitely desire, some ambition, and also just timing.
Right. Okay. Now, at the time you guys got into the store, were you as involved with the Flesh and Blood community as you are now, or did that kind of happen after that?
Yeah, it happened shortly after.
Okay.
Honestly, I had never heard of the game. I don't know if Keith had either. But one of the players that we used to play with all the time, he was big into Magic. He came in. We hadn't seen him forever. He's a pretty good friend. He's like, we're like, oh, like, how's it going, blah, blah, and asked him, like, what he was doing, playing. And he's like, oh, no, I sold my whole Magic. Like, he sold his whole Magic collection. I'm like, cool. So, what are you doing? He's like, I'm in this game called Flesh and Blood. Like,
that's brave.
Yeah, that
right,
is brave.
Yeah. he loved
especially
the game.
That time. At that time,
yeah.
man, that's kind of crazy.
Yeah. So he convinced Keith to go with him to Calling in Cincy, and Keith came back that night and was like, hey, you should play this with me. And we sat down with some starter decks. I was like, this game's fun. And I think the next week we had product there. So it's like a week or two. Yeah.
That's crazy. What was it about the game? Was it one thing in particular that like made it click for you, that it was a lot of fun, or is it just like the overall experience? Because I mean, I've heard that quite a lot from people, but I'm just wondering, like, if it's one thing in particular, like, what is it that makes Flesh and Blood just that fun experience for people?
So for me personally, I guess we touched this a little bit. Like, I am a very competitive person. So like when we sat down and played, as we started playing, actually the first couple of times I played it, I was like, this is a cool game. I can see how people like it, but I wasn't into it as I am now. But as we started playing a lot more and really getting in the game, I was like, this is it. It feels like a TCG where it's almost like you're playing chess a little bit. Where
here comes the chess analogies again.
Yeah. it just it's like you play something obviously for an effect, but a lot of times it feels like you're playing it to get your opponent to react or to see what they're going to play. And then there's like this element of, well, I did this because I think I know what you're going to do. So it's like this chess feel where I'm moving my pieces to make you move your pieces. So is that, and then the whole, it's almost impossible to get like resource locked. It's just really nice not to go, I drew 7 or 9 lands in a row, so I lost. And it wasn't that I was better or worse. I just lost because I drew bad. And that element, exists in any TCG. Like you can't get rid of it, but it just feels less in Flesh and Blood. So those are probably two big things for me.
It feels less, talking about the resource system. Like, do you think Flesh and Blood has a resource system figured out, or is it just they do a much better job at the resource system than a game like Magic the Gathering does?
So we've talked about this a lot. Like, there's no knock on Magic. Magic's still a fun game. Most of our players play both, and we try to make our schedule at our store where guys can do both because they want to, and they're both fun. They're different. I would say for resource system, it's more of Magic resource system was developed in 1992 or whenever 1993, and these resources systems developed in 2020 or 2019 or whatever it was. So they've had the opportunity to see everything Magic's done. Right, I tell people all the time, like some of these games coming out that are good, like they gotta watch. They don't have to go through some of the bad that Magic had to figure out on their own.
Right. Yep.
So definitely helps.
Yeah. So I know, like when we talk about Magic and games like Magic, where you there are plenty of opportunities to get mana screwed, mana flooded, leads to a lot of feel bad moments where I've got hands that I literally cannot play because I don't have the resources necessary, or I just don't have the cards in my hand.
Build a better deck.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong to an extent.
Just gotta spend more money.
But I'm genuinely curious. Like, do you end up with hands like that in Flesh and Blood, or are those moments, those feel bad moments where you can't do anything, just that a lot less because of the resource system?
So, and this is just my personal opinion or experience.
Sure, absolutely. Yep.
I don't know if I can actually remember. Like right now, thinking back through all the games I've played with people, if there's a game where I look back at and went, man, I should have or could have won that game if my hand would have done something different, it's been more like, here's like 4 or 5 things I can point out that I did wrong that cost me the game. I mean, there's a couple PTQs that I topped 8 and some stuff like that. And, I had people who are really good players, that friends that were there, they were watching. I got done. I was like, man, I just couldn't get there. I was trying to think through stuff. They're like, oh, well, you would have won if you'd done this, this, and this. And you're like, yeah, if I would just play better, like it wasn't like, oh, my cards screwed me. It was like, oh yeah, you play the game how it's supposed to be played, you win, So I'm sure it happens. I'm sure there's people out there who feel like,
right.
I think it depends on your deck too. Like I personally never played Kano. I feel like that element's there a little more. Like but you know it going in. Like you're stacking the deck, and people obviously are way, way better at it. Manipulating their deck to fire off. But at the same time, I've seen people manipulate 10, 15, 20 cards the whole game, and then they go through all those cards, and that one that they need is not there. So I mean, it's definitely an element.
Yeah. Right. Right. Now, okay, let's talk a bit about the Realm games, and then kind of you as an owner. Okay, do you guys have a philosophy? Like, what's your philosophy in running a local game store? Is it I've got product to sell, and then that's that, or like what is it that you guys take into the day to day when you're running your local game store? Like, what is it that you are hoping to accomplish?
Yeah, so I think it's all driven around community. It doesn't matter what game you're playing, what game you're into or hate. It's an environment where people can come away from work, you get away from everything, right? And you come there, you don't have to be judged. You don't have to. There's no arguments. There's no fighting. Like this is a place. And it's the same thing when I play video games. I tell people all the time, like, there's no politics. There's no work talk. There's no, like, we're just gonna come and just relieve stress, right? So I think that's a big thing for us. We want people to come, be comfortable, and just drop their stress at the door and just be able to like take a breath and just play some games and leave going, yeah, I'm happier now, So that, I think overall that's probably something that we're really big on, and our staff is really good at, just making everyone feel welcome. And they do a good job too. And they if there's people there that come and like, hey, I really want to play this, and they can't get enough people, we have a good system where if they're not super busy, one of them can take a break, or we'll even pay them to take like an hour break just to go play, to fill in for a fourth for a commander or whatever, so people can play. So I think that's probably overall in a nutshell. If I explain that well, I'm not sure, but
no, sure. But so, you know, in talking to many people in the tabletop community, you know, going to other local game stores, the word community is thrown around all of the time. Yeah. And depending on who you talk to, they'll use the word community as a buzzword, as a cliche. Okay. Yeah. And there are definitely places where you can tell they're using that word in that way. Like they don't, for lack of a better term, they don't mean it, right? Yeah. But what does it mean? And again, this concept is kind of one that can be difficult to articulate, right? So, and I think you did a pretty good job kind of outlining it here a little bit. But can you make, is there a way to really articulate what it means to be about the community? Like, how do you show your community that you're about them? And one thing you just mentioned, which I really like, is there's a group wanting to play a game, and then you have one of your team members, you're like, I'll pay you. You can still be on the clock. That way you can enjoy this game with people from our community. I've never heard that before.
You know, going off of what you're saying of people don't really know how to describe this feeling or how it is that they want to go about it. And some other people just use it as a buzzword. Yeah. Right before you started talking, I was like, I think really there's kind of no way to describe it. And it's more of like exactly what he did. He told a story as to what he's done or has planned on in the future to set it up to pretty much kind of show you what they're doing for the community. Yeah. Rather than, oh, this is how I describe it. And you haven't done anything.
Yeah. So
I think you did a great job.
Yes, absolutely. So I think that my question would be, is this concept of community something that you can accurately explain to someone, or is it more so I have to show you how I care about you as a community and not just tell you?
I think it's kind of both. It is a difficult, because it's an emotional thing, and it's sometimes it's really difficult to describe emotion. And for me, it really is. So I'm more of a logical person, very black and white. Numbers are a thing. So like, to me, that's the easiest way to describe it is by saying, hey, like, this is the stuff that we do because we feel like it's good for the players who come there. And if it's good for them, then they are the community. They're building the community. They're making friendships. Like, you know, we're just facilitating that for them. So like, I guess the easiest way for me to really describe would be like talking numbers. You know, obviously we have to make money. And we tell people all the time, like all of our businesses, I'm in it to make money, but I'm not here to rip you off. So we try our best to make our staff members have that same mentality. And then we put as much back in the community as we can afford. So we look at events being ran, all money that comes, you know what I'm saying? All money that comes in for an event, is dumped back into prize support. So, you know, if we do $5 for F&M and 50 people show up, then $250 is all going back in prize support. Like, we're giving either boxes away, we're giving store credit, something. It all goes back. I lost my train of thought, but yeah. So I think that, and then going over the top. So sometimes even losing money on those events and being okay with it. I think some stores look at events as revenue generators, and it should be the opposite. It's advertising costs. Let's label it that. It's better, right? So let's say we did our last, whenever we did our RTN, our PTQ last, or whatever it was, or pre-release. I can't remember now. Everything jumbles together, but it might have been RTN. PTQ. I really don't know, but we did
one of those events.
Yeah, so we gave away all the stuff that LSS gave us to give away, and then we also gave away, I think, 6 boxes So we give 2 or 3 boxes away of Monarch. We gave 2 or 3 boxes away of Uprising. We gave a first edition box of Crucible away. T-shirts, playmats. Like, I mean, almost everyone that showed up got something, right? They left, and then all the money that they put in, we just took that and put it back. You know, it's all product and price support going back out. So, and you know, we probably lost money on that event. I didn't even go look because I think that's what I'm trying to like. That's our job as an LGS, is to facilitate that environment, to let other people go, man, we're having fun. We want to come here and make friends, and it creates an environment where the toxicity is not there. We're not here. This isn't one of our 5Ks or 10Ks where we have to compete for something serious.
It's not a Yu-Gi-Oh tournament.
Yeah, right. Just here to have fun, you know. So leave the world's problems at the door, you know. So
yeah. So I hear a story like that, which is awesome, right? But the question that jumps out at me is how are you successful then? Like, because again, like you just said, you know, you're in business and you have to make money, you have to make a profit. So how do you successfully do that when you said all this money that's coming in for these events? Yeah, that's going into prize support. We're giving it to the players.
Right.
Like how are you successful then?
So
financially speaking, I should say.
Yeah. So I think this comes back to like just the whole community, like this ties like the whole community circle, right? The actual meaning of it is whereas like we facilitate this environment for you guys. We're going to pour into you guys. And in return, those guys, they pour back into us. Like, you know, they look to us for cards first, product first. I mean, we I don't know. So we're able to do the things we do because of the people that are at our LGS. And then, you know, with that environment and the mentality and having a great local support group is how we decided to start reaching out into the bigger tournaments with a similar mentality. Now, obviously, they work slightly different just because there's so much more overhead. So sometimes it looks, they had 180 people at $45-50. Oh, they only paid out $5. Well, there's, you know, venues and staffing and commentators, and there's a lot more happening. So you can't quite put the whole amount back in. Because you got to cover the other costs. But it's the same thing when you go there and we feel like we put on a good event and we facilitate a way for people to do something that they can't do at an SCG con or somewhere else where it's a different environment. There's stuff happening after. Though in return, people seem to be amazing and treat us well, and they support us, you know. So it's just a full circle thing. They support us, then we take it and we do our best to do something else that's really cool. So like in Chicago, the night we got there to set up, there's a bunch of people in the lobby, and we went back, got product, and brought a couple cases down. And every time they got 8 people together to fire a pod, we just gave them a box and let them draft and keep the cards. And just so like the night before, like, you know,
is that what happened? Because I saw pictures of everybody drafting.
Yeah, we were just giving out boxes so people could draft. So you know, and that's the whole circle of the community thing, right? That there is where the moments really happen. You know,
we know there's plenty of people that we know who, in a situation like that, would look at that situation and say, "Oh, you guys, you want to draft? Well, I have the product. All right, how much you willing to fork over to?" You know what I mean? Those people do exist, and I also want to say, you know, Jacob, for you, but also everybody listening, I'm not being cynical. I'm not trying to be cynical. I'm not trying to be like I only care about the money. No, a lot of these questions, for those of you who have listened to us, a lot of these questions are coming from the standpoint of we want to know how to do it so we can do it too. So for us, we have a lot of questions of, okay, because we want to be successful. We want to do it right. We do care about our community. We do care about any community that we're a part of in this space. Like we jump in head first, we dive in and we're like, hey, we want to have fun. We want everyone here to be successful. What can we do? And so that's where a lot of my questions, you know, are coming from. They're coming from that standpoint. So that being said, Do you think local game stores need to kind of innovate to be successful, or should they really all just look at kind of the philosophy that you just outlined of care about your community, pour into them, and then they in turn will pour back into you? Because one of the things that I've thought a lot about is, you know, because again, I'm thinking about revenue streams, right? And the revenue stream of buying and selling, right? I don't think you can just rely on that, right? But I don't know. So I'm thinking about, okay, well, what can you do to innovate? Like, can you open up additional revenue streams, yada, yada, yada. So I was wondering, can you kind of touch on, do you think LGSs need to innovate to be successful, or is there already a tried and true strategy and you just should stick to the script type thing?
Man, that's a tough question. That's a really tough question. I can't speak really for what other stores should or shouldn't do.
Right.
I know that location matters.
Yeah.
In a sense where like you have other stores to compete with and stuff happens. I'd say for me personally, like I feel that way with everything. I don't know if it's, my dad's been in business for a long time. He used to build houses. He's done stuff, and he's always had the mentality that, like, I can't worry about other people. I can't worry about what other people will say I should and shouldn't do. He's like, I'm going to put my best out. I'm going to treat people right. And, and that's it. Like let the rest work itself out. So, I mean, we're not in a big market city. I mean, the town I live in, there's a population of like 3,200 people. So the store's in a population of like 40,000. So it's not like we're in like Cincinnati, Cleveland, Columbus, somewhere there's a couple million people. But then those places are also competing with 10, 15, 20, 30 other stores. So it's really difficult for me to like speak on what another store should or shouldn't do. I'm just a firm believer that anything you do in life, if you treat people with respect, love, and pour your passion into it, typically people respond to that really well, and they want to be a part of it, and it usually works out well. So sometimes I think it's really easy in business to get caught up in any business on how can I penny pinch to the customer's wallet. Whereas it's like, instead of doing that, like how can I make money, but the customer still has money walking away, where they feel comfortable, they feel treated well, and I'll see them in a week or two or whatever, So that's just how we look at it. I don't know if every store should do that or not or what, but
I think more people should look at it like that. To be quite honest with you, there's definitely a few people around here who we wish would look at it would look at it that way. But in all honesty, like what you just said really does point straight back to community, right? And it's really interesting because like in just about all these conversations that we've had, the topic of community gets brought up, right? And it's like every conversation gets pointed one way or another to the topic or aspect of community. And it's highlighted, not even from us, but just from the guests of, hey, that's what's important. Like you're not doing this for you, right? You do need to look at it of you have customers, you have a community. How can you provide them the most value and show them that you care? So yeah. So what is one of or a few of the biggest lessons that you've learned in running the Realm Games since you guys took over the store?
Like from a LGS side or as like TO side, running some of the bigger events or both?
Both.
So for LGS side, I think putting, because we have other jobs too, and we run other businesses, so we're not there day to day. Putting the right people that share the same mentality with you in the front of your store, it's really crucial. Like that's probably something we learned. Our manager at the store he's amazing. Dude's amazing. I wish I could take him to every event we go to. I just like people around him, like this guy. He's so good. He's really good at his job. But everyone loves him. He makes it's mind blowing. He doesn't forget people's names. Like dude, someone would come in that's been there one time like 6 months ago, and he's like, "Oh, yeah." I'm like, "I don't know how you do it." My brother walks in, I'm like, "Who are you?" I don't know, but so I think on the LGS side, that's probably a big thing, is putting people there that share the same mentality and goals with you. The TO side of things, I've learned a bunch. Doing big events like that is not something I've done a lot of or any of until doing these. So I've learned a ton of stuff.
For those listening, TO, tournament organizer.
Yes.
Correct? Is that what we mean? Okay.
Yep. So running the Realm 5Ks, 10Ks that we've ran, location's a big thing. We figured that out the hard way. We was like, oh, we're going to do it in our hometown, our first 10K, our hometown. So like, those people don't have to travel, blah, blah. Well, our hometown doesn't have an airport or an Uber.
Oh boy.
Or, so people are like flying into Columbus, like, oh, how do we get to Columbus an hour up north? It was, I was like, yeah, that was a hard lesson learned. But yeah, so lots of fun stuff on that event.
Yeah. So, okay. So speaking of tournaments and tournament organizing, how long have you guys been doing your Realm circuits?
So last year we ran a couple 5Ks and then finished the year with a 10K, and they were just tournaments we ran. They were for us to get experience. It's difficult to get those size tournaments unless you were Channel Fireball, now unless you're Star City, which is cool. We built up a good relationship with LSS, and during that time they gave us a Battle Harden for the 10K, which was super cool. And then we started working on this idea of, the competitive scene. We feel like for Flesh and Blood, like this year especially, like there was a lot of gaps, a lot of loopholes. A lot of stores didn't get PTQs or RTNs, and you have a Battle Harden, but you have to fly halfway across the country, and then you're waiting 3, 4, 5 months till you get another one you can drive to. So we came up with this idea of running our own circuit, and we weren't planning on doing it until 2024. We got min-max and decided to run that 5K together. And from there, we started talking to some other stores that were like, oh, man, we want to run a big event in our city, but we don't know how. We don't have the means or the ability. So we're like, this seems like a cool thing for the community. What if we run several 5Ks and we partner with a local game store and let them come and be a part of the event? They get their own booth. We're going to run welcome events so people can come that have never played, and that store will actually run all those events. The owner will be there, and he'll get to interact with those new people. And then when we leave that area, new players or players that didn't know the story, just like, hey, here's an LGS that we can call home that is really involved and really cool and stuff. So we decided to go ahead and do a test run this year, running three 5Ks. So we ran the one in Chicago, running one in Pittsburgh into May, then we're going to run in Salt Lake City in August. And then we're going to run a 20. They're all invitationals. So the top 8 get invites to the end of the year, 20K, invitational only. So this is kind of a test year for us. It's looking really good. So we have plans hopefully soon to announce a lot more stuff for 2024, which we're pretty excited for. But yeah, so that's kind of how that started.
That's awesome. Now, okay. Why did you guys, and I know we talked about this a little bit, but you guys are doing a Flesh and Blood cruise, right?
We are, yeah. So that's going to be in January.
Yeah. So talk about that. How did that come about?
Go to that.
Yeah. We don't play Flesh and Blood, but we got to go.
We have a ton of people who are coming that don't play Flesh and Blood.
There you go.
They're just coming. They're like, yeah, we're gonna hang out and just, like, we'll try to play, or whatever. They just want to come and hang out. So like, I don't know if you guys met Derek, our charmer in Chicago.
Yes.
He was one of the casters. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so he's a really good friend of ours. He jokes about it all the time because he's been there in some of Keith and I's conversations. How they usually go is something like, Keith, I was thinking And then Keith responds before I can finish, that's a great idea. Let's just do it. And then we just do it. Like, sometimes not the best, best decisions, but that's really how it usually happens. And then we just go from there. Well, somebody on Twitter said it'd be really cool to get a bunch of nerds together and go play games on a cruise. And then someone else tagged at the Realm Games.
Best thing ever.
And
so I looked at it, I was like, oh my goodness, this is great. I screenshot it, sent it to my brother. He never even texted me back. I was like, whatever, we'll talk about tonight when I get home. And 10 minutes later, he calls me. He's like, hey, I just got off the phone with Royal Caribbean, and I think we can make this happen. I was like, dude, let's go. and about a week or two later, we put it out to the public, and it's a full thing. That's now. Hilarious. So we already put so we have, so you have to, so basically it's like $450 per person, but you have to share a room. Right. Mm-hmm. So it's like $900 for the room. That's like a 5-day, 4-night cruise. All food is included. And we're going to
doesn't sound bad.
No, it's not.
It does not sound bad.
I know. Like, I was just figuring, if you would have flown to our Chicago event,
steal.
$350 for a ticket from like Florida to Chicago, $100 a night for your hotel. You're like $600-$700, So I mean, $450. You're gonna get fed 3 meals.
Oh yeah,
and we're gonna there's like, it's a huge cruise. There's like 2 or 3 shows that happen every day and night, like Broadway type shows. There's like 5 pools. There's just all kinds of stuff happening. It's like, so people are just going to be able to hang out and go do it all together. And there's going to be set times for some flesh and blood stuff if people want to come play. If not, like, go do your thing. And then Sunday on the way back, basically, we'll sail to the islands. You'll get off. We'll be there for a day. And on our way back, that Sunday will be the main event. We'll actually run like to be determined, but like 5, 10K, something like that. So, yeah. So
that's awesome.
And when did you say it was again?
It's it's on our website. I think it's January 8th, 10th, 12th, somewhere in there.
All right, I'm going.
Yeah, I think we have like 20 rooms booked already. And then so basically they give us like a cutoff time for like, this is one of those things I talked about earlier. So like they give us a cutoff time, like, hey, you have to have your rooms booked by this date or the price goes way up. So like so many people did it, and a bunch of people were interested, like, oh, we can't tell this far out. So we're like, we went ahead and we put a deposit on 60 rooms, extra rooms. So basically now people, as they figure out and stuff, they can reach out to us, and we have tickets on our website. You can go buy your, all your stuff, and we have the rooms available until they're gone. So yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So you know what you're doing in January now?
Yep.
Yeah. It's going to be a blast.
I will be there. Because not only do I just love cruises, I also just like card games.
Yeah, right?
And normally,
what if you did a card game on a cruise?
And normally I like card games on motorcycles, but now I get it on boats.
There you go.
On motorcycles?
That's a Yu-Gi-Oh thing.
Oh, okay. All right. Which explains why I don't get it. All right. So this is interesting because and you've pretty much already answered this, but we did a podcast episode. I don't even remember how long ago this was, but we did an episode kind of all about product versus a place to play. Mm-hmm. And we were talking about it from the standpoint of a local game store, right? And there, how you approach either running or just even going into a local game store. Like, do you look at it from the standpoint of, here's my local game store, this is where I buy my product from, or this is my local game store, this is where I go to play games with people, right? And so that's the place to play. Mm-hmm. Right. I think ideally it's obviously going to be both, but where we kind of landed was we think it's more important to provide a place to play than it is to provide product to buy. Right. But again, ideally, I think it's both. But I do think when you look at place to play, again, what does that go back to? I think that goes back to the concept of community, right? Because you're providing a space for communities to be formed. You're providing spaces for these communities to come sit around a table and do whatever, right? And then in doing whatever, what is doing, that community is continuing to be furthered. I mean, I think when you look at an LGS, I mean, is there a point that I'm missing here? Like you can buy product or you can come play a game and hang out. Is there really anything else that you do at an LGS? But and again, that's not to say that neither of these are important or anything like that. But is there any other role that an LGS can provide or can fill?
Scam people?
The bad ones.
Look, I didn't say it was good.
It definitely probably happens.
Oh, it 100% happens.
100% happens.
Sadly.
Yeah, we'll tell you some stories after this call. We won't do it live.
We're doing it live, Dan.
Please no.
I don't
Hit
know
the cheer button.
if there is. I can do it. We figured it out. Oh man.
Goodness.
I mean, as an LG, like what other stuff is it that we provide? I mean, a safe environment for people to play. You know, a caring and safe atmosphere with affordable product for people too. Like, you know, you can't have one without the other on it. I mean, well, you can, but it's not going to be an LGS. Like, you know, I've heard some stories of some stuff with players with like, you know, they get salty about, you know, store and this and trying to make money. And I get that can be extreme, but you know, sometimes stores, I can see how it can be difficult or scary at times to feel like they have to do extra stuff to make sure they get the money or they're going to close the doors. And I'm sure all that stuff happens just like in any business. But I think there has to be a really good balance. Like we talked earlier, it needs, you can make money without stealing every dime out of someone's wallet, you know? So.
So on that, how important do you think it is for a small LGS or just any LGS to host large events? You know,
large
like
events?
you were talking about.
Yeah. I don't think it's necessary to host large events.
Okay.
I definitely think small community-driven LGS events, you know, for that local community, good events, even if like you're starting out or you're smaller and you don't have the revenue to dump a ton of prize support, like, you know, you get 10, 20, 30 people to show up. I mean, you charge $5-10, but some places charge $10, whatever. I mean, that's, you know, a decent amount of money, $150-300. Like, you just take all that and pour it back in, so that the players are having a good time. But yeah, I don't think you have to run big events, just running lots of events for the communities in your area, you know, stuff where they can come to your store and have fun. Yeah, that's the main point, right? Like, if it wasn't for that, we wouldn't be doing the stuff we're doing in other communities today. Like, you take those guys away, then there is no realm.
Right. So it's important to get those. It's important to get those small events kind of under your belt and done right, and prioritize those, and then not necessarily move on to doing big events, but still prioritizing that local community, and because that's your community and you want that to thrive and grow, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. All right. Well, we've got a few questions before we move on to one of our favorite segments. We've got a few questions from some of our friends. So actually, before we get there, you had talked about, I think you meant, didn't you mean this person you were talking about before, you meant Tan and Grace, right? Isn't that who we were talking about?
Yeah. That's my fault. I forgot. Sometimes I get them confused. They look so much alike. It's really difficult sometimes to tell them apart. Yeah.
It's funny. So we had Derek on we had Derek on the podcast a few weeks ago and had a great time talking with him. Guy. So it was good catching up with him at the tournament.
So real quick, I was on Twitter the other day and I came across a photo of this Tan and Grace guy. Okay. and I'm like, he looks nothing like Shark.
That's why it's so funny.
I thought they would have looked relatively close to each other. I'm like, I don't see it.
That's great. Oh man.
So you will never mix them up again then, correct?
No.
All right. Well, we have some questions from some of our other friends. So this first one comes to us courtesy of Brendan Patrick. Why do you enjoy Flip It or Rip It so much?
So actually, it's funny. We like Keith and I. Well, I don't know about Keith, but like me, like I personally actually don't. It makes me so anxious. Like can't stand it. But like
I love it.
But we always do this thing or we do it a lot where, like everyone enjoys their own thing at their different pace. So, like at the one speakeasy, we brought out a box of, oh man, I can't remember if it was first edition Crucible or first edition. Man, I think it might have been Crucible. I honestly can't remember. And basically, we came up and we're like, we're everyone here. We're gonna give everyone a pack. You get to choose if you want us to play Flip It and Rip It with it, or you can just have the whole pack to yourself. And like people were videotaping it. It went everywhere. It was a huge deal. I was like, the whole time I was in the corner, like, don't do it. But Keith's all like, yeah, that's cool. Whatever. So
I have no problem doing
See,
it.
that would be me. I would be the one being like, no, don't, please don't do it.
And I'm like, guys, it's not ripping. This is a foil. I need scissors.
Yeah.
All right. So this next one comes to us from Matt DeMarco. He asks, what's up with your obsession with making Canadian jokes?
I don't know if it's actually an obsession with Canadian jokes. It's just that Matt's Canadian. And so I enjoy just messing with Matt. It's probably
who doesn't
exactly, so and honestly, like I didn't used to do it a bunch, and I forget what event because he's casted every event that we've streamed, and one of the events like people would just relentlessly just every other, and finally he like said something like I think he was getting over it. I was like, now's the time to really lay it on. Like I could just that's when I felt like I really needed to put the hammer down. So ever since then, it just feels so natural. Like I feel like if I don't do it, I'm letting him down. That's really what's happening.
He gave everyone the ammo when he said he was upset about it. You cannot tell people on the internet you don't like something. They will use it against you.
Yeah, so everyone definitely 100% should come up with your best Canadian joke and tag Flake 100%.
So we will, but when we had him on the podcast, I don't know if we've sent out this short yet. But there's a clip. I made sure to clip it because it was hilarious. Mm-hmm. I don't even know what we were talking about. But you had said no. So I think Matt had said, why don't we just call all Canadians Americans too? Why don't we do that? And then you were like, I mean, you are North American.
Oh, no, I did see that. Someone, I don't know where I saw that somewhere. I laughed really hard. That was great.
He's like, you son of a.
Yeah.
So after that, I'm like, all right, definitely push on the Canadian button. Understood.
Yeah, it's just like when you start, you can't stop. Just
no.
Hammer down.
He asks for it. I mean, come on. He does.
I mean,
because he knows it's true.
He is Canadian, so it's his fault.
It's his fault.
Just,
there's so much good content here. Thank you. All right. Now he does ask one other question though.
Yeah.
Yeah, Matt is awesome. Matt, we love you, dude. You're fantastic.
He's an amazing guy that puts out consistently amazing content. He's such a good caster. Like, I don't know if you've seen him do other stuff, but like he can so easily show up in a hoodie and still be professional and have fun. But then also they're like, hey, Matt, like we're going like super serious, shirt, tie, like the whole thing. And dude's just a pro. I mean, he's a pro. When we did our very first event, we had some people cast the event that were locals. They did a great job. It was awesome. I had so much fun at that event. The next one was bigger. We're like, we're going to get a couple people come out and do this. And we met Flake through some people we knew. And like the first time watching him, I told him, I was like, dude, you can like, it's just the difference. Like you can tell like, oh man, you get paid to do this. Like it's so obvious. Yeah. He's so good at it. But
yep. So. Yeah. When honestly, when I've seen him and watched him cast and listened to him, I'm like, dude, this just makes me want to do it just right next to you. And you can just teach me and I'll just learn from you because you're just so good.
He's so good at it.
All right. He does have one other question though. Oh, all right. He asks, how's your New Year's resolution coming along?
I mean, it was doing really good until about 2.5 minutes ago. So,
what was the New Year? Wait, what was it?
Was it stop making Canadian jokes?
Is that it?
It was actually Keith's New Year's resolution joke, but we both were trying really hard. Keith was doing great. Oh boy. I feel like, listen, hold up. I feel like he set me up like real hard right there.
He set us up.
Yeah, he did.
He set you up
so hard.
Because we didn't even know what it was.
No, I didn't ask him. So here's what happened, okay?
Oh, man.
Here's what happened. Earlier today, I sent out a message to both Brendan and Matt, and I'm like, yo, we're having Jacob on the podcast. Mm-hmm. What are some questions that we should ask him? Like, just to, throw some funny stuff out there. Mm-hmm. And so Matt sends those questions, and I'm just like, understood, got it. And that was it. Nothing else was said. Mm-hmm. And we went along our merry way.
Mm-hmm. Oh, man. That was clever. I got to give it to him.
Good job.
That was a nice setup.
Very nice.
Oh, man.
Because part of me wanted to ask what it was. Mm-hmm. When he sent that, I'm like, I wonder what the New Year's resolution is. Well, good thing I didn't. Oh, my goodness.
Since it's that was fun. Now I can just, it's game on next time I see him, right? Like, that's how New Year's resolutions work, right? I'm going to lose weight. Then I go eat a cheeseburger. I'm like, well, that's done. So
it's over now. Try again next year.
January 4th. It doesn't matter. We'll try next January. So I guess that's how that's going to have to work.
Goodness. All right. Well, we're gonna move on now. Mm-hmm. I think we need a new segment after that. Mm-hmm. After that, we need a new like viewer question segment type thing. Oh man. All right. Well, we are now gonna move on to our card of the week, and Jacob is just pulling out the card of the week. Oh crap! I'm gonna grab it. All right, so Jacob.
Yes.
Jacob has been so kind to pick a card for us. Jacob, what is this week's card of the week?
Has to be Dash. So the hero Dash. Nothing flashy, nothing fancy, but to me, my favorite card in all Flesh and Blood. A couple reasons. One, it's the first hero I ever learned how to play. And then I rode that thing as hard as I could when it wasn't good. Like, nobody was playing it. Bravo, star of the show, was, like, dominating. I was like, it doesn't matter. We're going to do it. Just got annihilated. So it's just a little corny. But the reason that I started playing, I was like, oh, which hero am I going to pick? My middle son's name is Dash. So I was like, that seems fun. That's really cool. And, started picking up. She's my favorite hero. She deserves to be the best. They should make her broken so much that people quit playing the game. Like, she deserves it.
Or you can ask.
I was gonna say, so what does she do? What does she do exactly? Because
she's a mechanologist. She like has items that she can use, right, and do all kinds of crazy stuff. But you get to start the game with an item out of your deck on the playing field.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's a couple different ways you can play her. So there's a card, it's called Tecla Pounder, and you can play that, and it starts with 3 counters on it. Basically, there's a mechanic that every time you play a card, you get to flip over the top card of your deck, and you banish it. It gives you go again. Well, the first time you do that every turn, Tecla Pounder loses a counter, and it makes that attack hit for +2. So it's kind of like a aggro deck, but then she can also go like into like a turtle defensive mode and build up like these items that give her pistol go again, and then an item that gives her pistol +1, or I think it's +1 attack. I can't remember now. And then she just she pitches stuff to load those up, and then shoots her pistol for a bunch at you and stuff like that. So she's really cool. She's a lot of fun. Yeah, absolutely.
Is there do you have any other favorite items to pair her with, or there's just like a lot of fun small?
There's a lot. Me personally, I love playing like the aggro version of her. So I play a Tecla Pounder, and then every card is just like hit you as hard as I can. I never block. Just let people. They're like, I'm hitting you for 18. I'm like, cool, do it.
Eat it.
My turn. Yeah, she can. I mean, if you get the right cards, you can hit for like 40. I forget what it is, like 42 now. It's been a while since I've actually played her, because then I was like, I'm going to try to be somewhat competitive. Before we ran our circuit, and I started hitting some PTQs, I was like, she's just not there. So I started playing some other stuff. But yeah.
Have there been any successful lists with Dash?
She's actually really good in that.
Made it competitively?
She's better now. Actually, she's been decent now. I mean, she's always been decent. She was able to win. It was just when Bravo Star the Show was there, it was just really, really, really tough. And then Fi came out, and it was like, if I'm going to play aggro, like, I might as well play Fi. But people have been winning with her. She's won some big stuff. Yeah, and here recently, she's been doing really well too. She's been top 8ing, and I think she top 8'd in Richmond, if I remember right. So. Awesome. Yeah, she's
cool.
Solid. Yeah.
All right. Well, that is this week's card of the week. That is Dash Inventor Extraordinaire from Flesh and Blood, a game that we still don't play a lot of. It's fun. This game is fun. We just,
I mean, artwork is beautiful.
It is.
It is. It's a lot of fun. Design. Yeah, Flesh and Blood is definitely a lot of fun, and it is becoming more. It seems like it's becoming more and more popular. Like each and every month is what it seems like. It's just it's a lot of fun, and the community is there, and it seems like everybody who's in that game just really loves the community.
I was about to say, the more Wizards of the Coast stops caring about their players, the more Flesh and Blood adds to their players.
And so that has to do, like, LSS they've done a really good job so far of having that same mentality, caring about the players, caring about the game, trying just to do cool stuff. They give a lot of support to LGSs. If you're an LGS and you want to be involved at a local level, they are all about it. They do. They give you quite a bit of stuff. I mean, they give prize support for every armory event, every skirmish event, they give a lot. It's pretty cool.
Awesome. All right. Well, Jacob, thank you so much for joining us today. We had a lot of fun kind of chatting with you, and I have a feeling we've got some other questions that we might have to ask you offline here. So yeah, maybe that. But Jacob, where can people find you, and where can they find out more about the Realm Games?
Yes, so they can on Twitter. They can go at the Realm Games 1. We do a lot of giveaways there, giveaway boxes of stuff, and we might do a giveaway to the cruise, and we do all kinds of stuff on there. Or you can go to the Realm Gaming or realmgamingnetwork.com. Just realmgamingnetwork.com. And that's where you can find all the events that we do. We have other stores all across the country that are running local events that you can earn an invite to the 20K. So we're pairing up with LGSs all over the place. Or if you're an LGS and you want to run an event, there's a link on there for you to get set up. So yeah, it's a great place to go and see what we're doing.
Awesome. So yeah, we'll be sure to leave all links to everything that Jacob just mentioned in the descriptions. If you're watching on YouTube or if you're listening to the podcast, be sure to check the podcast notes for all of those links. But yeah, so Jacob, thanks a lot. This has been a lot of fun.
It's been great.
Yeah, we're really glad to have met you. And that honestly, that event was just a lot of fun. So thanks for joining us today, and we hope to chat with you soon, man.
Awesome. Thanks.
Dan.
Yes.
Dan,
yes,
I could
Joe.
talk to that guy forever.
Dude, I know. but seriously, like I love having these conversations with people like with just that, where we can have these conversations. Because again, this community and the community of tabletop gaming, it's very much a local thing. It's like it's a grassroots movement, and people like Jacob treat it as such. And he made sure to mention to us multiple times, focus on your local community. Like it starts in your local community. Even if you have big grandeur visions of what you hope to accomplish on a large stage, you cannot forget your local community. Yep. It's like that saying of, never forget where you came from.
100%.
And I'm just very glad and very thankful that we were able to make this connection with Jacob. And I don't know how many people are going to listen to this episode and think to themselves that really didn't apply to me, and that's okay. That is very, very much okay. But for people like us, and for anyone who's in this space, in this hobby space of tabletop gaming, talking with people like Jacob who have that vision, the moment you start talking to them, that is exactly what's important.
Yeah.
And you need people like Jacob to have that vision to lead your local community. And so it was really awesome, getting to talk with Jacob. So Jacob, thank you so much for that conversation. And again, don't forget, if you find the Realm Games on Twitter, follow everything that they're doing. And if you want to go on that Flesh and Blood cruise, maybe look into that. We don't even play Flesh and Blood, but that sounds awesome.
I still want to be there.
He told us that when we were at that Flesh and Blood tournament, here locally, and I'm like, that is an awesome idea. How many people I've heard that and said that's a bad idea? Probably 0 people.
0 people.
0 people. So anyway, again, thank you so much, Jacob. It was a great conversation. And Jimbo, where can people find you on the internet?
Yeah, you guys can find me on Twitter, Twitch, and Instagram at Jim Morgan, HNH.
You guys can find me on Instagram at Daniel.G.Campbell, Twitter _DJ Campbell. If you head over to our website, www.hobbiesandhappiness, you can find links to all of our content there, YouTube, podcasts. For the most part, the majority of our content lives on our YouTube channel. That's where a lot of our video content lives. Even though we don't post on a lot of other platforms, we prioritize YouTube. YouTube is pretty much where everything is at. So if you want to follow everything that's happening along with Hobbies and Happiness, be sure to hit us up at youtube.com/hobbies and happiness. So thank you everybody for being here. Who knows what next week's going to bring? We are, in all honesty, everyone, just so you know, we are actively... We're coming up on episode 100. We are coming up on episode 100. How does that make you feel? How does that make you feel, Jim?
I don't know. I don't know.
So, but one thing that I want to do is, as we approach episode 100, I really want to take a look at the long-term, what we want to do with the podcast specifically in the long term. I think we want to keep doing video. However, it's kind of going to be bare bones, kind of as you've seen. Again, just from an editing post-production standpoint, makes things a lot easier for us. That way frees up more time to make the other video content that we really want to make. But that being said, we're actively looking at how we're going to set up the podcast. Are we going to prioritize interviews? Are we going to prioritize our one-to-one conversations? or we're just going to try and mix it up here and there. We are actively looking at that. And if you want to weigh in, be sure, shoot us an email, leave us a comment down below on what you enjoy about the podcast. Do you love the interviews? Do you love the guests? Do you love just the conversations that we have? Or one thing that we've even thought of is just honestly bringing another person and having the same conversations that we have, but with an additional guest. So let us know what you enjoy, what you think, as we look to move to, I don't want to say new format, but really just something that's very consistent. That way you know what to expect on a week-to-week basis. So let us know down below what you enjoy about the podcast. And I'm really looking forward. I'm looking forward to episode 100. I'm looking forward to what we're going to continue to do with the podcast. It's still so weird to say. I've honestly thought about, man, dude, if we get to episode 100, that's just going to be awesome.
I remember episode 2 and I think it was 2 where we were sitting on your couch in the basement.
Oh my goodness, and you hated that so much.
I hated it so much.
Yeah. So again, let us know what you enjoy about the podcast down below, and again, we're going to be actively looking at that. So thanks everybody for being here. We'll catch you in the next episode. See you, everybody.
Take care.